Brazil officially banned Twitter, aka X. Fantastic. Great. Even just on its own, it's great. I think this should happen everywhere. I think Twitter should be universally banned all over the world. Delete Twitter. End Twitter. So many problems will be solved without Twitter. But even aside from that, there's a lot of misinformation about this. They're saying the judge who did it is like some sort of leftist who's trying to suppress the speech of the poor right wing. He used to be a right wing political activist, and he was appointed as a judge by Michel Temer, who was an unelected president, right-wing president, brought to power by a coup against Dilma, a US-backed coup, and he was appointed by that guy. So like the idea that he's like a left-wing, like Lula appointee who's attacking Twitter because it lets the right-wingers speak is comically off. What actually happened is that so there was a coup attempt in Brazil. Kinda, sort of. It was more like a riot back in early 2023, January 8th, 2023. A coup attempt is a bit much because they had no chance of succeeding, and I don't think anyone who was involved had any idea what they were doing, but it was basically like January 6th sort of thing, where a bunch of fucking morons went to the Capitol and stormed an almost empty building and then didn't really know what else to do. And obviously they broke a ton of laws doing that, so this judge put in a lot of work, trying to identify those people, trying to identify their online footprint and stuff. And as part of the investigation, he subpoenaed Twitter for these people's social media posts, stuff like that. And Twitter just ignored them, sort of. And he also, went after people who encouraged the coup, incited it and stuff like that. Or the coup, the riots, stuff like that. And every single time, Elon Musk Twitter refused to abide by court orders that he has to abide, he has to actually listen to, and he just acted like he was above the law and his platform is above the law. And I guess the expectation is that that they won't do anything, we can just ignore them. And then Brazil did something. They did do something, right? You can't just ignore 1,000 different fucking court orders that are legally binding just because you feel like it. At that point, you are basically operating in the country in a rogue state, not conforming to the country's fucking laws, and I have no idea how any social media platform or media outlet or anything would expect to be able to do that. If it was the US a US judge asking for the same sort of thing, Musk would comply in 2 fucking seconds. But he gambled on this idea that Brazil wouldn't do anything, Brazil can't do anything. It turned out they could. It's basically like an American social media platform trying to bully a third world country and acting shocked when the judge in the third world country actually said, you can't just do this. We're going to take action against your platform. And Brazil is at least a big enough country to where it's going to hurt Twitter a lot that this happens. And of course, Elon Musk is trying to make it out like, this is a free speech thing. We're defending free speech, blah, blah, blah. But the entire fucking reason why he's not conforming to the order in this case is specifically because he's a fucking right-wing culture warrior. He's trying to frame it as anti-right-wing persecution being levied against him and the right wing by Lula. In any country where he couldn't peddle that sort of narrative, his response to a subpoena would be, yes, officer. Whatever you say, officer. So yeah, obviously they're being very selective here with whose free speech they decide to protect and who's not. It's not worth the potential consequences for a corporation to protect free speech. Except Elon Musk thinks that in this case, pretending that he's protecting free speech is more important to him than his company actually making money. Which if I were a shareholder, I wouldn't be very happy with, but whatever. So yeah, that's my comment on the Brazil thing. There was a ridiculous thing that I believe they've already backtracked on where they were going to try to fine people $8,000 a day if they use a VPN to access Twitter. But that they quickly dialed that back and decided not to do it. It's impossible to enforce anyway, and that's just insane. But Twitter being region blocked in Brazil is good enough for me. More than good enough for me. They deserve it 100% fully. And the fact that it's being carried out, that this is being the initiative of a Supreme Court judge who is very obviously right-wing aligned, just not right-wing aligned with the Bolsonaro extremist far right, makes it impossible for them to really attack it in any way, shape or form that is not clearly dishonest, which is precisely what they've been doing. The most dishonest bullshit attacks imaginable. I support Twitter ban in Brazil, in Ukraine, in Russia, in every country in the world, please, immediately. Thank you. Getting rid of Twitter would be the biggest setback for global Nazism since Hitler offing himself. 100%.